And I'm Reggie.
And this is R&B Talks. Hello, Reggie.
So,
we had a nice breakfast full of, dude, chaffles. Like what?
Who would have thought a cheese waffle?
A cheese waffle.
No.
Low carb way to get your waffle on.
Now, I don't think I would eat that with like syrup and stuff.
No, but like it makes a great breakfast sandwich.
Breakfast sandwich was good.
Yeah, it was a good breakfast sandwich, man. Like I was like, oh, when you said it out loud, and when we were reading the menu, I was like,
I thought that's what it was. I just wanted to make sure their definition wasn't.
I was waiting for somebody to be like, it's a chocolate waffle.
Well, I just wanted to make sure their definition was the same as what I thought it was.
Yeah.
Before I ordered anything.
But it was fantastic.
Yeah,
it really was.
It was really good.
I was shocked at how good it was. I mean, it was very, very tasty.
Do you know what I'm not shocked at? The amount of feedback and blowback I've got from what I've said about Manjaro.
Why you got so much blowback, man? Lay it on me.
Well, because I'm saying, hey, it's fine if it helps you, and that's cool and all. It did me, and I did it without, and I'm doing it without the drugs, and you can too.
Well, yeah, everyone can.
But
everyone won't.
Yeah, but I mean, it's like there's like these cults of people, like with anything else. But it's like it's interesting how you have this like a GLP-1 cult.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah, and it's a tribe, man. Everything's a tribe. Everybody's tribal, dude.
And but it's just amazing to me how I'm not even saying like, and I don't even have really a great example. But I was talking to my doctor about this week because I had my checkup, and that's what made me think about it. But because it was like here I am. You're talking about I had my triglycerides were up to like 668 at one point.
Triglycerides.
And so we're talking over
That's not good.
Over a I think 8 month. No, I guess it's 6 months. 6 month period. Well, I guess it's about 8 months. 8 month period. They're now 161.
Yeah.
Right.
And why is that, Reggie?
Because I've made the conscious decision to eat the way I should and exercise and move and do all this stuff the way I should. And that's the thing. I guess all I'm saying is that, you know, there are people like who flat out have like severe reactions to these things. Like they do have anxiety. They do have severe gut problems and pain and everything else, but refuse to get off of them because it's making them lose weight.
Well, and you know, it's funny that you bring that up. And the reason I say that is this. I think those same tribes exist for like SSRIs. I think those same tribes exist for anxiety medications. But the funny thing is, do you know what the one single common denominator is that is most successful at curing all those problems? Diet and exercise. But here's the thing. We live in a society where everybody wants it right now. They don't want to go to the gym and put in an hour and 15 minutes, 3, 4, maybe 5 days a week and do cardio and have to, you know, they just want to take a pill and it go away. And what it boils down to, and I can get some blowback, I don't care. What it boils down to is a lack of self-control, a lack of ability to self-assess and pivot.
But I don't think, okay, let me say this. I don't think everybody who takes a GLP-1 or any of the number of peptides or whatever now is like choosing not to be disciplined and all this stuff. I mean, it can't help people. I'm not.
It can, but
I'm not arguing that, right?
But it's like anything else. When SSRIs were first invented, they weren't invented for you to be on them forever. They were created to help you rewrite and re-regulate yourself, right? But now we have people who are on Wellbutrin and all these drugs, and they've been on them for 15 years, and they refuse to stop taking them. They haven't addressed the problem. Here's the thing. Pharmaceutical intervention isn't meant to be a cure. And what I mean by that is not that we don't mean it to be a cure. The pharmaceutical companies don't mean for it to be a cure.
Yes, that's correct.
They just want to mask what's going on with you in hopes that you'll just continually take these drugs so they can continue to rake in money. There's plenty of countries right now who have, come up with cures for things that we don't allow in our country because the pharmaceutical companies don't want you to be cured. They want you to be dependent on what they take. That's why a lot of things like Mounjaro, Ozempic, any of those EGLP-1s, they want you on it for the rest of your days.
Yeah. But I guess I just want to make it clear, though, that I'm not against anybody taking these things.
No.
But there is a path for some, especially if you're having issues. And I feel like people are shouting down the people who are saying there's issues with it.
Yeah.
And that there's alternative weapons and it's a defense mechanism, right? It's like the same shtick for like almost everything. Like, oh, I feel attacked because that's what I feel secure in, but you're attacking this security, so therefore I need to defend it, kind of thing. But it is interesting that even if you say something along the lines of like, hey, some of you I know are having some issues. You've reported it, and I've seen it on social media a ton. So here you can do it though without and you saying that gets attacked.
Well,
even by practitioners too. That's the funny.
That's because they have the most to lose.
They do, man.
Look, man. Of all the things going on right now, the Maha movement, I'm behind it. Because they're changing, they're erasing the lies that the FDA has been telling for years and years and years.
New food pyramid's
food
great.
Health, the new food pyramid's excellent. He's getting companies to take dyes, things like that out of foods, and it's unbelievable to me how many people are up in arms about that. Like you're up in arms about us trying to provide a healthier life for our families.
And not based on like just opinion, but like actually solid,
like for real data,
clinical data, which is weird.
And, people all the time will go, well, I don't want to lift weights, I'm going to bulk up. No, you're not. Lean muscle happens when you lift weights. Unless you're on some kind of steroid, you're not going to get all swelled up and look like Arnold Schwarzenegger. You're going to get lean. You're going to get strong.
I do gain muscle mass very fast.
Some people do. There are exceptions to that.
Like I'm actually 7 pounds heavier than I were three months ago.
Yeah,
but
your clothes probably fit looser. See, when I was a trainer, that's the thing that I tried to tell people was
the weight doesn't matter.
Weight loss doesn't necessarily constitute health.
Yeah, correct. I'm just saying, like, for me, I have to be mindful because I don't want to get too big. Now, the odds of that happening without taking these substances is pretty slim, right? I mean, because it would take a mutant of some sort to like really get too big, right?
Yeah.
And this is actually what I talked to the doctor about. I mean, I was asking her about this, and and I mentioned that I gained 7 pounds since the last time, but like I'm healthier. So is she concerned about any? And no, I mean, so there's that. But anyway, I just thought that was interesting. It was something I just talked to the doctor about, and I thought I would bring it here because it is yet another example of moronic activity from people who just cannot, I don't know, they just cannot tolerate their own securities being their offense at that because of their insecurities, I guess.
I don't even think it has to do with insecurities anymore, man. I think there is a mass mental health crisis going on right now, and I think it's almost like a virus. I think people are looking for something to get angry about.
Okay, but look, I wasn't going to get into this, but I think I need to right now. I will say this, and this is my opinion, and I strongly feel this way, that I'm even further disgusted and appalled by the leftist ideology in modern day 2026. Let me just say that before we get into everything else. The ideology and the principles that have been shown by what's going on right now and or what was going on in Minneapolis and the government in Minneapolis and everything else is appalling, and it's just disgusting. Does that mean that I'm fully like ICE does nothing wrong? No. but if you play stupid games,
you get stupid results.
Yes. I mean, and all this is every time. I don't care what it's been, whether it be George Floyd or whatever. This whole Preddy situation was ridiculous, and it was so idiotic.
Okay, so let's take the riot and ICE out of it. If I armed myself to the teeth, if I loaded a pistol, put it on my hip, exposed with some clips, and I aggressively rushed at some cops, I would expect to be shot.
Okay, but I have a big problem about Trump and Patel and everything blasting away at, he was carrying a gun, he's a criminal.
Well,
no.
Yeah, that too. I mean, that doesn't make him a criminal. I mean,
I would carry the same thing.
Yeah.
And I do that on a daily basis.
It's not the gun that was the problem. It's the behavior.
This is where I was going.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Like
quit talking about the firearm as if that was the key thing. That is not. We clearly see now from all the evidence that he was an agitator.
Well, and on top of that,
he was spitting on law enforcement officers and kicking their cars. And, I mean, come on. Like, this was not a tame, just, I'm going to show up on this, today and go. No, he was an agitator.
The claim was that he was there to help people. Well, he was a nurse. Where was your first aid kit? You took the Hippocratic Oath. Where's your first aid kit? Where was your medical supplies?
No, he wasn't.
What help were you providing?
No,
right? Like,
whatsoever. He was an agitator.
You were agitating. Like, I get it that you were passionate about whatever misinformed ideology that you were carrying out there, that you thought you needed to arm yourself to the teeth and go out there and aggress cops. And the reason I say arm yourself to the teeth is not because the gun was the problem, but if police are trained to meet potentially deadly situations with deadly force, this guy decided while armed to aggressively approach officers of the law and was killed in doing so. Now, does that make his death any less tragic? No, it doesn't. I mean, nobody wants to see somebody get shot and die. I don't want to see somebody get shot and die. If nobody ever died from a gun-related wound and for the rest of existence, I'd be happy. But you can't look at this through a single lens. It's this leftist ideology of there's only one. It doesn't matter what the video shows. It doesn't matter what this shows. It doesn't matter what this shows. We've decided that this is the truth. This is, we talked about this earlier, this suicidal ideology of the suicidal empathy, man. Are you really willing to end your life for foolishness? Have you fallen that far away from the realm of common sense and reality that you are willing to lay your life on the line for something that doesn't? In 2 weeks, if everybody went quiet, it would go away and on to the next.
It already
thing.
Is going away.
Yeah,
it already is.
And this let me be clear. It's not empathy that you feel. It's self-righteousness. It's I want to be right about something, and I want people to look at me and go, "Wow, he's really virtuous," or you're not.
No.
You're not virtuous. You're a lunatic.
But just for the people out here, this is I look. Can we just acknowledge that the Tim Walz and all the left have constantly urged or incited violence or insurrection against law enforcement repeatedly?
Yes.
You have to acknowledge this.
The mayor of Minnesota.
You have to acknowledge this, right? Okay, so we know the left leadership is going to do what the left Marxist leadership does, and that is be demonic and evil and try to do everything they can to divide everything.
Yeah.
We know that the right leadership right now currently will say a bunch of things and not do it, and they'll just go along with everything and pass massive budgets and do all that stuff.
Yeah.
We know that too.
They're virtuous by word, not by action.
Yeah. It's the people that what I get irritated with, right? I understand why the leadership does what leadership does, why the power and wealth, why the most powerful, the most wealthy do what they do.
Yeah.
And we're going to get into that today, actually. But what really blows me away is the people who are just like put on their sheep clothing and just
okay. Let me paint you a picture. I'll paint you a picture.
Paint it.
John Leguizamo came out this week in a video and stated that if you follow ICE, don't watch his movies, don't come to his shows. And this is the ultimate in virtue signaling, and this is why I say that. When John Leguizamo was making garbage movies like The Pest and working his way to the top, he didn't care a lick whether he took money from a ICE supporter or a left-wing liberal supporter or a conservative. He just wanted to get rich. But now that he has all the money, he thought he would go out and send up that big blinding virtue signal that, well, I'm on your all side now. Well, it's easy for you to say that, John. You're wealthy. You do that from the comfort of your home. You're not in danger. You're sending people out to you're firing people up for no other reason than you're not willing to go out into the streets and do it yourself. This whole thing of this, and what's worse is the people are eating it up.
Because again, we've established the ideological capture of the institutions, of our science, of our media, of Hollywood, of the corporate America. We've discussed all that.
Yeah.
And because and Hollywood's a part of this. That's part of the plan. And this is the key here. It's not accidental. And it's not like some organic thing that happened.
It is not.
This is a deliberate execution of a strategy that's been going on for over a century. And it's really about the destruction of the competing authorities with these uber wealthy, uber power mongering buffoons. And you know, they're trying to get rid of God. They're trying to get rid of the family, trying to get rid of the church. They're trying to get rid of the nation stronghold on everything. It is a new world order that they're seeking.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that's where this episode comes from. This is the culmination of what we've been talking about and kind of how the situation with John is made possible today.
Yeah.
But why? And that's what I wanted to answer today is why even would they want to do this whole plan and do this thing and do that thing and have these secret, things going on, and are they even legit? And here's the thing, Brian, and we talked about this a little bit, but like every time you hear somebody talk about New World Order, quote unquote, or Illuminati or whatever, they're like they look like they haven't slept in like 12 days.
Yeah.
They like there's like Cheez-It crumbs in their beer.
They got like 7 empty Monster cans on their desk.
Yeah, and they're like, "Hey man, check this out. The New World Order's gonna get you." And it's like, bro, like I might agree with you, but like
take a nap.
Wow, dude, and so I wanted to come to this as like a more centered individual who's not showing signs of sleep deprivation and severe caffeine addiction.
Well, and here's the thing. I feel like if we lived in a more low geared society would be the way I would put it, because everybody's so revved up that the normal thought process would be carried out. But people are so quick to action. Like, and this is not, and here's the thing, people are going to listen to this episode and go, conspiracy theorists. No, this isn't a conspiracy theory. This is a documented strategy of what has been, what is, and what is going to happen if we keep running down this road.
I'm going to have quotes. Okay. And those are from direct sources. Those are not from anything else. And look, you can choose to believe me or not. I don't really care. You can believe Brian or not. I don't care.
Yeah.
The point is, it didn't take very much effort to find this stuff, to put this together at all, because I wanted to clarify some things myself. Right. And that's part of what this show does for me. Like it gives me an opportunity to like dig into something legitimately. So let's talk about the stated goals, Brian. Like what they've actually these people who are connected or are a part of, you call it the cabal, the New World, or whatever. They've said what they are going to do, and they've been plain about it.
Yeah, I mean, and let's be clear: all of the processes that you've seen happen, especially over the Obama administration, the Biden administration, they didn't hide what they were trying to do. They were very out there with wanting to silence. We know now that, the Biden administration intentionally attempted to silence voices and kill free speech during COVID. We know now that, the FBI and the CIA were weaponized against a president. We know, and it's not a theory. It's all true. The facts are out there. Like you guys are, well, you didn't hear, you all seem to be on CNN constantly. Like you're not aware of what's happening. Right. So, but I think a great place to start, Reggie, would be kind of a ground level, Antonio Gramsci. I think it's called Gramsci. Is that how you pronounce it?
I'm going to guess so.
Cultural hegemony. He was an Italian Marxist who realized that violent revolution would not work in the West because Christianity and family provided too strong a foundation. His alternative was the long march through the institutions. Now, what were the keys to that, Reggie? What were the keys to those?
Well, so it's like this. Like he realized that, it's not you're not going to just be some warlord to come in and take completely over the way the West is, because they have a very firm, at the time that we're talking late 1800s, early 1900s, that there was a very strong foundation in the family and God and Christianity. So what he really thought to do was you're not going to seize the government or authority state at first. What really he said was you go to culture through their education, media, and attack their religion. Then the state, the authorities fall from there. Okay. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't like he was shy about this. He, quote unquote, socialism is precisely the religion that must overwhelm Christianity. In the new order, socialism will triumph by first capturing the culture via infiltration of schools, universities, churches, and the media. And this was from his written work, Prison Notebooks.
Yeah.
Okay. So there's that's one example. The Frankfurt School. Okay. Here we have some critical theory being used as a weapon. And then how many times have we heard critical theory here lately, Brian?
A lot.
Yeah.
A lot.
So what is the Frankfurt School?
German Marxist intellectuals who fled to America, Columbia University.
They landed at Columbia University
in the 1930s and developed critical theory, which is basically the intellectual probably foundation for DEI and CRT.
Yes, correct. Max Horkheimer, Theodor Adorno, and Herbert Marcuse are a couple of really key, part of this Frankfurt School.
Well, and the explicit goal was to deconstruct Western civilization.
Yes.
We attack religion, we attack money, we attack patriarchy, nationalism, we attack the nuclear family, and by doing that, we destroy the foundation of the current society.
Yes, and Marcuse's repressive tolerance that he wrote in 1965. Okay, this is where true tolerance requires intolerance of right-wing views while promoting left-wing views. This is where you get this from. It's really the intellectual order of hate speech kind of doctrine, right? Now, here's the key, and I really must. This is why this New World Order stuff is actually documented. Who funded these refugee academics, Brian?
Rockefeller. John D. Rockefeller.
The University in Exile, quote unquote, is what this Frankfurt School is called.
The New School for Social Research.
Yep. And it's spread through American universities in the 30s and 40s. Okay. And there's several. You know what? I'm going to put the sources in the.
Well, and I would also dare say that probably the School for Social Research or the University in Exile was probably the foundation for most social sciences right now.
Probably, yeah.
So,
all right. So we're going to have this. Honestly, I might have to cut the description short in order to fit the sources. To be honest, I don't know how I'm going to do that yet, but I'm telling them here for you too. So there's that. Yeah. John Dewey. We talked about Dewey before.
John Dewey.
In episode 118, we actually went through what John Dewey did with the purpose of education. But there's some quotes from John Dewey that are from his My Pedagogic Creed and the School Journal, and these are important. The quote unquote, the teacher is engaged not simply in the training of individuals, but in the formation of the proper social life, end quote.
I believe that education is the fundamental method of social progress and reform.
Yeah, he didn't. So in other words, he wasn't hiding anything here.
Yeah.
I mean, it was never about teaching children to like think better or have some critical thinking or whatever. It was clearly his view was clearly about shaping culture and society, right? And then now we get into like Frederick Gates, okay? And this is really the Rockefeller vision of education, okay? This comes from the Gates in his The Country School of Tomorrow, written in 1913. Quote, in our dream, we have limitless resources, and the people yield themselves with perfect docility to our molding hand. The present educational conventions fade from their minds, and unhampered by tradition, we work our own goodwill upon a grateful and responsive rural folk. We shall not try to make these people or any of their children into philosophers or men of learning or men of science. We have not to raise up from among them authors, editors, poets, or men of letters. This is not speculation.
It's their published mission statement.
I really need to make this extremely clear. Check it out. What he's saying is, and this is the Rockefeller Education Foundation, limitless resources, okay, and the people yield themselves with perfect docility. Docility. How do you say that?
Docility.
Docility.
Mm-hmm.
They're docile, okay, to our molding hand. People, quote, written, mission statement. Come on, man. All right. Anyway, that's General Education Board, Educational Patients number 1, 1913, page 6. There you go.
Yeah.
For that. So, all right. Why do we think, Brian, that things like this, where they're pretty explicit, and why do we think they get pushed into being conspiracy theory and stuff like that?
Because they don't fit into the selfish narrative of the left. That's it. That's the only reason. I mean, if you go talk to anyone who's in the middle and you want to have a discussion about this, there's going to be open area for this discussion, and it's going to be considered. The left has bought the lie. And the problem is they've built this fragile structure that's built upon lie, upon lie, upon lie, that eventually they're afraid if they recognize the lie that the structure will collapse, and that all of this ideological capture that they've been wrapped up in will just become pointless, meaningless, and then they will have to go back and start all over again. It's this need to fit in.
But I think it goes beyond that, though.
You know,
it is. I don't want to disagree with you either. I don't think you're wrong, but it goes into this. It's like, now that we've succeeded in indoctrinating these kids and stuff from our education system, let's make sure we provide the outlet for them to dismiss the obvious evidence and explicit quotes, because we've done our job in the education system, and that's the pattern we have here.
Well, it's warm under the wing of a dragon, right? It's very warm under the wing of a dragon.
You will own nothing and be happy.
Yeah.
That's not, and look, there's more context to that, but the context does not actually dismiss the actual meaning of what he said.
And let's be clear too, there is some part of the elixir of socialism that I understand the attraction to. You're not going to have to work. We're just going to give you what you need, and you have to survive on that. You just have to do what we tell you to do.
Yeah, but somebody eventually has to work.
Well, that's just the thing. That's why socialism is the lie.
Yeah,
right?
it's totally a lie.
But I understand, especially for a generation who may feel disenfranchised, why that would be attractive. But what you've got to do is use your ability to critically think. I think a great way I heard it put was, okay, well, let's say everybody stops working. Well, how does anything get made?
Right.
Oh, so you still want to have cell phones, and you still want to have okay. So now all of your socialized, money goes out the window, because we still have to have infrastructure in order to provide you with all these things that you want that we're going to give you free money to buy. They don't understand the logical fallacy of it. And I think that's where I get really frustrated, is there is just a very obvious logical fallacy in socialism, in communism,
yes,
in Marxism, but that just, it's just out there like a big giant flaming thing that you can't get around. And the thing is they're living off the heat of that flame.
Yes. But the only reason why that's possible, because, and we've just shown this, is because they recognized these cabal, whatever, powerful Rockefellers, Carnegie, they realized where their mission had to start.
Yeah.
Education, institutions, yep. Right? So that's where we are. Now, here's what I struggled with a little bit of this, because I knew what this was, but I was like, how can I present this idea? This is actually the continuation of our humanity's challenge since the Garden of Eden. And what I mean by that is, like, we are usurpers. We think and we want to be in control and in power and everything else. And look, and like we talked about before, there's good and evil. There's no gray area. It's a binary system. It's a 1, it's a 0, it's a yes or no, It's a good or evil. Okay. So if it's not holy, and if it's not good, if it's not aligned with what God or Christ has in mind for you, it is evil. Okay. That's where this lands. So, this all goes back to Genesis 3:5. Okay. You will be like God, knowing good and evil.
Genesis 3:5.
You will be like God. Okay. That's where it goes. You don't need, this is what Satan was doing. You don't need an external authority. You don't need God. You can define all of this yourself.
Yeah. You can be your own God.
You can be your own God. The truth is what you decide it is.
Do you think that some of the fracture comes from the fact that they try to be their own God and it still goes to crap?
Yes.
And like every time I have attempted to take control of my own life, I screw something up. I realized a long time ago that there's a plan for me, and I have to be open to that plan and go where God leads me. Well, if you're your own God and you still can't get it right, you are a terrible God. So don't you see, this is where I'm talking about glaring mistakes, glaring inability to see reality, right? It's the core operating system for secular humanism, right?
Yeah, it's where, the postmodernism, the critical theories, all these stuff, they have to reject absolute transcendental truth. They have to. Yeah. That's the only reason why this works.
Yeah, they have to create gray area.
They have to.
And I'll be honest with you, I have had these discussions with many people about gray area, right? Gray area isn't something that's real. Gray area is something that's created by people who don't like the rules.
Who don't
believe in right and wrong. They want to have degrees of right and wrong. This isn't the legal system. When you look at how God looks at sin and brokenness, he looks at it all on an equal level. He looks at the thief the same as he looks at the adulterer. That's sin, right? And you're either right or wrong. But a lot of times what you'll hear is, well, I had an affair, but it was my wife's fault or my husband's fault. No, you made a choice. You knew that it wasn't right. You knew that it wasn't something. If you thought it was right, you would have just told them what you were doing.
Okay. And this is exactly what Paul was getting to. And because it's not about not knowing the truth. It has nothing to do with the knowing of truth.
Yeah.
We all, and like he talks about in Romans, how we all at the core of our being know the truth and we know the existence of God. We know that it's a known thing. But what we humans want to do is suppress it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
And I think that the Romans 1:18 through 25 is where we're going to land here for a minute. And that's, I think, and where I got the suppressed idea instead of the not knowing. For the wrath of God is revealed from heaven against all ungodliness and unrighteousness of men who suppress the truth in unrighteousness. The suppress, it's a Greek word, and I can't pronounce the Greek word. But
it's But
the Greek there that Paul is using means to hold down, restrain, or actively suppress. So that's where the translations get, and they use suppress there because it's coming from that position, right? So Paul's not saying people don't know the truth. He's talking about how they suppress it. Okay. So suppress the knowledge of God. That's in verse 18. So become futile in your thinking.
Here's my favorite one. Profess to be wise, become fools.
Right.
Profess that your foolishness is wisdom to create more foolish people.
Exchange the truth for a lie.
Yep.
Worship created things. There's one rather than creator. Now, created things, I want to mention this a little bit. That actually applies a bunch of, it's pretty broad, but that includes wealth, that includes power, that includes materialistic things, that includes fame, that includes all those things. That's where all this lands. Okay. So this is exactly how we've traced, this capture from, start from even from the Garden of Eden all the way up to, education systems and science and tech and corporations and, why they're doing this. Talk to me about 2 Thessalonians, Brian.
Okay, the strong delusion, right? So the coming of the lawless one is according to the working of Satan, and for this reason God will send them strong delusion, and that they should believe the lie, which is saying is when people persistently reject truth, God gives them over to believe lies. This is judgment, not just consequence.
So he says, here you go. If you're going to fully just
if you're just going to drop the book and abandon ship, here you go.
Yeah. And so this is my biggest one right here, right? That I find, and I find this so true, and why this is so important to me. Okay. For we do not wrestle against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this age, against spiritual hosts of wickedness in the heavenly places. So look, Ephesians 6 is critical here because it really sums up what we're wrestling with. It's really not the battle between human and human. It's a age-old battle of good and evil. And you have serious, powerful, very smart entities across these outs. Now you have the ultimate one that wins, and we already know that. But while we're on this earth, there is a constant battle between good and evil, and it goes way beyond this puppet of human flesh being used.
Yeah.
It's really signaling to something else. And I think that's really critical to understand is like, people have bought into because they've suppressed the truth. They actually want to seek wealth and riches and fame and all this stuff. And so they're veiled to see anything about the truth until something critical happens, by the way. It's amazing how many of these Hollywood people all of a sudden have something happening and now it's like, oh, we messed up. I mean, holy cow. There's a lot of them that come out and all of a sudden they're Christians and do all this stuff.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, what happened? The veil got pierced by something.
Yeah. Yeah. They saw something that they couldn't see before that was being hidden from them.
So yeah, I guess so the end point here is basically like the things like the Frankfurt School or, your DEI administrators or the big tech giants who themselves like, they're not really that's not your ultimate enemy. It's there's a puppet behind those, dancing them around like doing the cha-cha. Yeah.
Okay. Well, here's a point, right?
Yep.
Like here's something, and here's let's talk about a truth and a lie. When we hear a lie, even if it's a convincing lie, it always comes to the surface, right? Especially in the media, because nowadays, pursuant to everything that's going on, where do you hide, right? So, and the one thing that I am not shocked, or none of us get shocked by, is when we find out it's a lie. And then we are like, oh, it's a lie. It's repulsive, blah, blah, blah. But the truth is a little different. And here's why I say that. The truth has power. Sometimes the power to heal a man, sometimes the power to drive a man insane. And this is what I mean. I found the truth in my life and it healed me. Leftists find out that their lie isn't the truth and that what the truth actually is, and it drives them harder into that delusional my truth mindset. There is no my truth, right? I don't have a truth. There is the truth, which I recognize and acquiesce to because it's truthful, but it's not my truth. I didn't create it. I didn't make it or vet it, right? I just understood and recognized what's truthful, and I follow what's truthful. The problem is also, and you kind of see it in all these riots that are going on. First off, it started in Minnesota. It was, well, we're going to riot against the Somali fraud, right? Well, then all of a sudden you started to see Palestinian protesters again. I think the problem is when you build everything on lies and you go out there and you're fighting against your own faultily built construct of life, that you no longer can recognize truth and you become a victim of all the lies. Pro-Palestine,
Pro-Hamas,
anti-ICE, pro-Hamas, like all these things. And look, again, I'm like you.
Critical race theory.
I'm like you. I don't approve of everything that ICE is doing. I'm sure that is, with everything that is going on, I am 100% sure that there's probably some things that have happened that probably shouldn't have or could have been stopped. Right?
Yeah, I mean, it's
just odds. It's just that you're dealing in human nature, right? You're not dealing in divine nature. You're dealing in human nature, which is flawed. But I'm also not so ideologically captured by suicidal empathy that I think getting rapists and murderers and drug dealers off the streets is a bad idea.
Look, here's the thing. ICE put out on their Facebook page, they listed in their comments some of the people who they've taken down actually in Minneapolis. So I am not going to have any issues, regardless of whether their citizenry is legit or not, if you're arresting pedophiles, rapists, murderers.
This is controversial.
I don't care.
I'll be honest and say, if you came here legally from,
you should be, yeah.
If you came here legally
Doesn't
from
matter.
South America and you became a citizen and you rape a woman, you should lose your citizenship and go back to wherever you came from.
Yeah, I don't really care. I just, here's what I'm saying is, just like the people that they're going after, though, from what I can tell, are just really scum of the earth, and no one would disagree.
Well, and let's also remember too that by sneaking into the country, whether you like it or not, and if you don't like it, call your senator, call your congressman,
still legal.
Get the law changed. It's still a criminal act. So you're starting off your American illegal citizenship with a criminal act. If I can't trust you to do it right coming in, I'm not going to trust you to do it right while you're here.
But I don't want to go down this hole, but there is a reason we have immigration in the first place.
Yeah. Every country has immigration.
Yes. And because you must, okay, look, we're not going to get into it because honestly, I could go down that hole, but I don't want to. So let's get back to this. Why and who benefits from all this deliberate schemes and plots from the New World Order, Illuminati, whatever you want to say, So really why and who really benefits, okay? And this is this is key to understand. The liberal ideology, this liberal project that's been going on for over a century, actually probably a lot longer than that, but that it does require the destruction of every institution that competes with the state for authority and loyalty. And that means God, family, church, nation, and your local community. All of those have to be dismantled and taken down for the true liberal ideological utopia. Okay. So God gets replaced by the state or quote unquote their experts. Family gets replaced by the public school system or the welfare state. The church gets replaced by NGOs and government programs. The nation itself is replaced by the global institutions like the UN and the WF, that kind of thing, and the local community and stuff. Well, you don't need those. You need these distant bureaucracy kind of things, right? Now, here, if you side with Mussolini,
everything within state, nothing outside the state, nothing against the state.
So why? How in the world would somebody right now in 2026 go, you know what? That Mussolini guy, he had it going on.
Yeah, he was a smart feller.
What is wrong with you, right? I mean, oh my goodness, dude.
Well, here's the thing. And I think this is the thing we got to look at is, this isn't just a left-wing ideology. This is an impulse towards totalitarianism.
Yes.
And the goal is centralized authority with no competing loyalties. So let's take a look at that. The reason why President Trump is in office, whether you agree with it or not, again, not exactly a Trump fan. There's things that he's done that I'm okay with. There's things that he's done that I'm not okay with. But the fact of the matter is that more than half of this country said, hey, we want this guy to be president. But right now we're allowing the minority of people to control the narrative for how the majority live. And that is exactly what this is pointing at is, voices are being silenced. Whether the left likes it or not, you're not democratic. You're a socialist, and you're now trying to live out socialist values by shutting down opposing voices. Why do you think that people like Bernie Sanders and AOC and Ilhan Omar and blah, 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 and Cory Booker and blah, blah, blah are all out here railing against morality? They're not railing against the fact that, people are spitting on other people and ICE agents are being spit on and ICE agents' their families are being doxxed, right? They're railing against the moral reaction to it.
It's a quasi-religious fervor.
I don't even think it's quasi-religious. I think it's psychotic.
Well, same thing.
Yeah,
it's
psychotic.
But there is this.
It's cult times 100.
Yeah, but it's this thing about follow quote unquote the science.
Yeah.
Here's our experts. and this is where the gatekeeping stuff when we talked about this, has come into play very, very clearly. It's like a new priest class, right? That we have in the church, in Christian realm, the church is who governs, the priests and priestly voices and everything else. But look, in the secular world, what has happened and because we've talked about it. Well, then that's your credentialed experts who've gone through their system and been approved by the indoctrinated institutions. That's your academics and journalists who, they've checked the box against all their indoctrination and everything else. And this includes the idiotic fact checkers.
Yeah.
Who are constantly wrong at what they say is true or false because they're being from this system that has been taken over by an ideological opponent.
They're being manipulated.
Yeah. Now, the money. Here's again. We got to talk about the money because this is look. Here's the truth. DEI consulting. $9 billion industry. Just in DEI consulting. Come on. like we talked about before, the ESG aligned funds we under management, though that's trillions of dollars. And then you have like people like Robert DiAngelo, right? Gets paid $20,000 plus per speaking engagement. And then we have the Ibram X. Kendi Center, $30 million from Boston University. Oh. And all countless NGOs that we've discovered over the last year that were millions upon millions of dollars.
It's not even that. I mean, let's take a look at our government. I mean, we're taking a look at quote unquote charities and we have people in our government who are multi-millionaires who think it's okay for them to tell us what to do with our money and to play with our lives, yet they're becoming wealthier with every day. And there's so many people out there that back AOC and Ilhan Omar. Well, AOC's net worth is $36 million. She is the 1%. She's not special, right? Ilhan Omar, the more they dig on her, the more they find out she's just a capitalist. Like there's nothing socialist or democratic about her. She's a capitalist. And when you look at, it's not just indoctrination. It's profit. It's control of money and power. It is not genuine belief because they will slide up and down the scale of whatever they can pull money from. Right? Trump pulls all the money out of DEI programming, pulls all the money out of transgender. Well, then all of a sudden what pops up is all this Somali daycare fraud where they start stealing from the government there. You're seeing a literal roadmap of what it's about.
It's
right?
not but again, it's not hidden.
Yeah, it's not hidden. It's out there in the open and we're finding it. And here's how pathetically easy it was to uncover it. A 20-something-year-old YouTube journalist uncovered one of the largest cases of fraud in American history and didn't really have to work that hard to do it.
No, it was crazy.
That's how lazy the left has become.
Yes. Well, on purpose.
Yeah.
This is, I mean, because it's clearly, we're only going to turn one way.
Yeah.
But we got to get into the network. Okay. Because this is really where the conspiracy theorists and all that kind of stuff, and they try to go here. But they end up failing because it doesn't have they either look like they're nuts or they are nuts or they're on some kind of methamphetamine that whatever.
Yeah.
So here we are, two dudes who just decided to do some research, and here's what we found.
Yeah.
Okay. Who was Carroll Quigley?
She was a Georgetown professor, and she was Bill Clinton's mentor.
Okay, from Tragedy and Hope, written in 1966, chapter 20, and I quote, "The powers of financial capitalism had another far-reaching aim, nothing less than to create a world system of financial control in private hands able to dominate the political system of each country and the economy of the world as a whole. This system was to be controlled in a feudalist fashion by the central banks of the world, acting in concert by secret agreements arrived at in frequent private meetings and conferences," end quote. This is not conspiracy theory, folks.
Here's more. Ready? "I know of the operations of this network because I have studied it for 20 years and was permitted for 2 years in the early 1960s to examine its papers and secret records. My chief difference of opinion is that it wishes to remain unknown, and I believe its role in history is significant enough to be known."
So here's the deal. Carroll Quigley was not one of the central figures of it, but she was like an insider who was like she really approved, or is it a she?
I don't know.
I don't remember.
I don't care.
Anyway, but she did, he or she, whatever. And this is written in the Tragedy and Hope: A History of the World in Our Time. You can get it on Macmillan Publishing, 1966. So there's one. Now
then there's David Rockefeller.
No, David Rockefeller
from his own memoirs.
Yep.
Quote, some even believe we are part of a secret cabal working against the best interests of the United States, characterizing my family and me as internationalists and of conspiring with others around the world to build a more integrated global political and economic structure, one world, if you will. If that's the charge, I stand guilty and I am proud of it.
Yeah. Okay. Why in the world would you not look at this and go, oh, he's actually saying there is a one world movement too. And he is an internationalist.
And he is proud to be a part of it. Yeah.
Again, in his memoirs, published by Random House, 2002, page 405. There you go. Look at it, folks. Okay, now here's the ones that where I clearly remember these because it was like it caught me so off guard when I heard the George H.W. Bush. These are during his speeches. And these are really popular, by the way, because he uses the phrase New World Order at least 42 times between the summer of 1990 and March 1991. That's what I've kind of get out of. But here's some a couple of examples, and this is from the C-SPAN archives too. And so on September 11, 1990, to Congress, he said, out of these troubled times, our fifth objective, a new world order, can emerge, a new era, freer from the threat of terror, stronger in the pursuit of justice, and more secure in the quest for peace. Now, let me just clarify this and say, do I think that he was talking to it in the same way Rockefeller was? I there's some debate there, and I'm not saying that, but I guess you cannot deny though that a person like George Herbert Walker Bush would not be at the top of the food chain as far as powerful people in the world at that time. So would I consider this to be like, oh, he's part of the New World Order? Sure, in a way, but like, I do think he would be acknowledged. He would be known. He would know of it. Let me say that, right? But anyway, so he talks about the New World Order a bunch of times. So how are all these? There's a bunch of organizations, not just people, but there's a bunch of organizations that are like really, really connected. Okay, and some of you conspiracy theorists, if I can speak today, will undoubtedly know most of these. The Council on Foreign Relations, Trilateral Commission, Bilderberg Group, Club of Rome, Skull and Bones, the Bohemian Grove. Those are some actual organizations that are very heavily connected. Okay. And for instance, the Trilateral Commission was, Jimmy Carter was a founding member. Okay. It was to foster cooperation between North America, Western Europe, and Japan. And it was, I think, funded or founded by the Rockefellers. I'm not for sure, right? Mm-hmm. Nearly all secretaries of the state have come from the Council of Foreign Relations. One of the things about the Bilderberg Group is Dennis Healy, who was supposedly a 30-year member, said to say we were striving for a one-world government is exaggerated, but not wholly unfair. Yeah. So, okay, sure. The Club of Rome, okay. And they were founded in collaboration with the Rockefeller Foundation. Okay, so they're a part of this too in 1968. They do like, if you want to see like the global planning, they wrote the Limits of Growth in 1972. The Skull and Bones Club is actually, it's not a club, it's a fraternity. It's at Yale. And so you see like presidents like Taft, Bush, both the Bushes and John Kerry have all been part. There's a ton of the world's most like influential and political figures that have been a part of the Skull and Bones. Of course, Bohemian Grove is the same type of thing. They got like off the record relationship stuff in there. Nixon was proudly a member of that. So look, we'll get into specifics here, but I just want to say that these are all interconnected. Mm-hmm. Okay, they're all like the Who's Who Boys Club, men's, kind of gatherings and stuff to really give you an idea of like where funding and all this and actually ideological pushes come from. It's like there's these small, interwoven, tightly knitted groups that really lead things from this standpoint, right? And this whole look, whether they call it, they don't really probably have a name for it. It's not like these people got together and said, "Hey, we are now called the Cabal.
We are now called the Justice League of Freedom Haters,
the greedy power mongers of the West." I don't know, but they don't do that. I mean, I think that's what we got to understand. But you can call it whatever it is, though.
Well, here's the thing. As long as there are people who are ultra wealthy, there will always be people whose money has perverted their minds into thinking that they know a better way to run society. I think that's kind of what we're seeing here. Rockefellers, Bohemian Grove, these are all ultra wealthy groups of people who could pretty much do and say whatever they wanted to say. And they all had an idea of how to better create I won't call it a harmonious society because it's not what it would create. It's just a better order to society. And the thing about it is again, this isn't conspiracy theory, ladies and gentlemen. This is documented. Like, this is well documented. Like, you can track through this historically and it's all out there for you to see, right? But I don't know, man. This is one of those things where I feel like this is a rabbit hole that you could just slide down.
But it's not even a hole, though, okay? Because I mean, here, what I'm going to get, like, here's a clear one, okay? Mm-hmm. David Rockefeller was in the Council of Foreign Relations, the Trilateral Commission, Bilderberg, and Bohemian Grove.
Yeah.
He was in all those, right?
He was in all the clubs.
So you have all these overlapping networks with shared personnel between them. You have a consistent worldview where you have global coordination is greater than national sovereignty. That's where they're pushing all those to say that. Explicit statements about world government being not wholly unfair, mm-hmm. right? Or something they're proud of. Rockefeller said that too. And preference for secrecy and elite decision making. So look, this is clear. It's not been hidden. It is right there. And Psalms 2:2 says, "The kings of the earth set themselves, and the rulers take counsel together against the Lord and against his anointed." Yeah. Hello. Okay. So look, there's also a funding trail here, and that's even more further evidence, right? So you have the General Education Board. Rockefeller, $324.6 million. The Carnegie Foundation for the Advancement of Teaching, tens of millions. The Rockefeller Foundation itself. I mean, hell, he gave $400,000 to German eugenics.
Yeah.
I mean, come on. And in the 1920s for scientific racial research. Yeah, quote unquote. So there's just all the funding trail shows you right there.
Yeah.
I mean, that Columbia stuff is no joke. Rockefeller was in it deep. Okay, we got to understand that. The Reece Committee in 1953, 1954. Okay, let me just quote Norman Dadd and what he was the research director. What he testified with is, quote, "It seems incredible that the trustees of typically American fortune-created foundations should have permitted them to be used to finance ideas and practices incompatible with the fundamental concepts of our Constitution. Yet, there seems evidence that this may have occurred," end quote.
Yep.
So here's some key things. Okay, the Carnegie Endowment's purpose statement. This is what researcher Catherine Casey was mentioning. The minutes asked, "Is there any means known to man more effective than war for altering the lives of an entire people? The only way, quote, to maintain control of the population was to obtain control of the education in the U.S." The Guggenheim Foundation provided fellowships to handpicked historians. Okay, so
And
this is
They rewrote American history books.
yes. In 1934, the American Historical Association published concluding that the day of the individual in the United States has come to an end, and collectivism was inevitable. Really? In the committee's then you had this committee's final report. Big foundations, promotions of empiricism, centralized team research, big universities over small colleges, more relativism, internationalism, and social engineering. Look, it's just so not a question. And until I can't really get, we're almost out of time, but what I'm going to say here is that there's a definite Marxist and Darwin connection to all this stuff. Rockefeller was very influential in this as well. There is a clear published letter that Marx wrote Engels, because when Marx read the Origins, he was like, "Oh, this is so awesome." That should tell you something. And then how is this quote? John D. Rockefeller got a lot of his stuff from evolution. Okay. So he said, quote unquote, "The growth of a large business is merely a survival of the fittest. The working out of a law of nature and a law of God." Yeah. So look, there's a definite connection between Marxism, evolutionary theory, and you have the big New World Order type of perspectives, because you have that eugenics connection here and the funding of eugenics from this standpoint, right? And so because they wanted to make a better, more compliant human. Okay. And there's a big, we could go down for the Kaiser Wilhelm Institute for Psychiatry, the Brain Research, Eugenics Record Office has some stuff in there too. The Rockefeller Foundation continued funding German eugenics even after the Nuremberg laws of 1935. And you can find this stuff where I did, written by Edwin Black, War Against the Weak, History News Network, 2003.
Reggie, I can't even begin. Like, I can't even begin. Like, I don't have a way to begin. Like it.
I told you when I was putting this together.
Yeah.
It's absurd.
Well, I think the thing that, I think it's odd. I think that there's a part of this that either you choose to believe the lie or you choose to believe the truth. And my question becomes at that point, was your choice based on your desires or something that you actually truly believe? And I think that's where kind of all this kind of culminates. These people have not hidden their agenda. Not at all. Like there's no hidden agenda.
None.
From Rockefeller, from all of it.
Bill and Melinda Gates, by the way, are part of this.
Yeah. Yeah.
And how do I know that? Because you know where the Common Core crap came from? Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Which wrecked educational institutions, by the way. Wrecked it. I believe that what all of this says is that we are the combat that we're seeing right now between people in the middle and conservatives and libertarians and the wingnut left is the culmination of a lot of these I don't know. I don't even know exactly what to call these. Because they're not conspiracies. They're proven. I'll say these insidious plans are starting to culminate.
Well, yeah, we've had time.
Yeah.
We've had time there where these have been working for a while. And I mean,
but here's what's scary.
There you
I
go.
don't think I think if COVID wouldn't have happened, we would still be walking around in the dark. I'm actually glad this is going on.
I don't know, man. I mean, we had people throwing. I mean, you saw,
but
this.
not like they do now. Like I don't think if you. I think COVID made it worse, and the reason I say that is you threw a bunch of people into exile. You locked them in their homes, and where the only outside source they had was the left wing legacy media that was, and the right wing for that matter, Fox News just as bad, pumping all this into their head and basically telling them that if they didn't choose sides, they weren't virtuous. They were bad people. Well, that immediately should have triggered, I need to look into this. But instead, it triggered a lot of fear and a lot of people handing over rational beliefs for irrational beliefs.
Well, and this goes back to, okay, so we had the Reece committee findings were pretty much buried. Then we had, there is a very strong line from Darwin to Marx to Rockefeller to our modern today's curriculum in here.
Yep.
And that includes evolution being like science, which it isn't, Marxism being the way of like where we should go as a society, and the funding behind all of it.
And remember, guys, it's the theory of evolution. It's the theory of evolution.
Well, but it's not even a good theory. And this is why.
What? I have a theory that if I do all these things that I want to do, I'll become Superman. That doesn't mean it's true, but that's just a theory.
My thing with all this, even the geological table, I mean, we're actually going to get into this in another episode because it actually be a multi-parter on creationism. But, even the geological period, like table that they came up with, Christians all start freaking out because they're like, oh, there are millions of years. But you have trees going up through all of them. They're petrified. But it's going through all the layers. So how can you have all these layers be millions of years when you have a tree that's petrified going through all of them? That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
There's been zero, and I mean absolutely zero animals or beings of any sort that are in the middle of transitioning from one kind to another. We have found zero. There's been zero. There's no evidence for that, right?
Yeah.
There isn't. In our whole entirety of written history, horror, whatever, never.
Well, here's my problem with all that. This might be simplistic in the way I look at it, but I feel like it just makes sense. I'm not a new earther or an old earther. I'm a Christian. And as long as I'm doing what God calls me to do, whether the earth's 5 million years old or 5 days old, I don't need to really worry about those things. Whether I don't know. I wasn't there. I have the Bible that gives me a somewhat historical view, right?
We still have science though.
And we still have science. But to me, once I became a person of faith and I understood what I was called to do, those things just kind of became irrelevant to me. My calling as a man of faith is to share my faith with other people, right? It's not to, I don't want to have an argument about how old the earth is. It's not really relevant to what's happening to me now. I get what you're saying, and I actually agree with you, but unfortunately, I feel like I got caught in this discussion one time. Well, are you a new earther or an old earther? I'm just on earth. Like,
no, I get it. It's and I don't really put like there is some validity into this, but it does pinpoint like an area where there is a religion on this leftist side to have its belief in a thing that is not scientifically proven.
Yeah.
Okay, they can't claim that against you when they're doing the same thing.
It's the belief in their truth has become their science.
Yeah, and all of this, okay, that we've been talking about goes back to that Bezmenev KGB guy who said there's 4 stages to this, right? He said there's the demoralization, destabilization, there's a crisis, and then there's a normalization, right?
Yeah.
So according to kind of what we've been talking about, we've completed that demoralization phase.
Yeah.
Like I think you can look around and go, yeah, we're pretty demoralized.
Yeah. Next is the crisis.
Yeah. Well, next is the destabilization, and that's like the
destabilization.
economy and, you know, all that kind of stuff. And I mean, I don't know. We seem to be, it's really interesting how that is. But then the crisis, there's going to be some violent, or there'll be some kind of war or something here happen. And then you'll have let's get back to our new normal thing after that. It's kind of crazy.
Well, I think Barack Obama was famous for saying that we needed to get used to the new normal. You know what I mean? Back when prices got crazy and things started to get wonky at the end of his second term, he used that term a lot, the new normal. It's not a new normal for me. I don't know why anyone, I don't care if you're the president or you're the janitor, would assume that your new normal is everyone else's new normal. But I think that goes back to that new world order. We're all, you know, social animals that we're going to corral into one place and forced to live one way kind of philosophy, which I don't go along with, and I don't really think is a healthy way of looking at things. Right. So, what I'm hoping people get from this, what I'm hoping people get from our episodes in general, is a need to go out and figure it out for themselves. Don't eat what they put on your plate. Go find your own spiritual and mental and emotional food. It'll be much healthier for you. Because right now, if you're believing what they're selling, you're tearing down society because you think in your mind, by destroying society and labeling people as racist and labeling people as, you know, usurpers and oligarchs and all those words that don't have any meaning anymore because you've just used them to the point where they don't really apply. They're, you know, calling Trump a fascist. You obviously don't know what the definition of the word fascist is. Having a no kings protest, you obviously don't understand that if Trump was a king, the government would have never been shut down and nothing would be happening because he would just have everybody in a collar. Like you say these things and you misinterpret the meaning, or you add your own meaning to it, just like you have your own truth so that you can use it as weaponization against other people. It's just a very, it's the erosion of truth. It's exactly what the plan is, you know, taking it apart piece by piece.
Yeah. I mean, and keep in mind, dude, we're talking about the transhumanist ideology.
Yes.
Coming in. It's like, you know, we're going to redefine what it means to be human. And we're going to, like, you know, transcend the human limits of this or that, or we're going to try to, you know, we'll eventually be able to live forever, and we're going to create new life, blah, blah, blah. I mean, this is where they're going with that.
Well, this coming from, this is the same group of people, though, that believe that AI will become sentient and blah, 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 blah.
Yeah. No, it's not going to happen. So anyway, look, there's, I wanted to make a point. I'm not one of these guys who say we are in the end times and it's, you know, be ready for, but we should always be ready for his return, by the way. But there's some interesting things in Revelation that does point to kind of what we've seen. Okay. The global political system requiring an allegiance, that's in chapter 13 of Revelation. The global economic system where you can't buy or sell without compliance, that's 13:17. A global religion system, think like the Babylon the Great type of thing, intertwined with commercial powers. So that's in chapter 17:18. So I think we definitely have the architecture being built for that to really happen. You know, we have the digital currencies and those being thought of to be gone to explicitly. We have these ESG compliance, social credit scoring, and like we've been talking about, the ideological gatekeeping on things as it is. So, you know, it's like the infrastructure is being built for this stuff. So I'm not saying that this is it, but it definitely, the trajectory is fitting the pattern towards that goal, right? Yeah. I mean, so that's really where we're at. So we just real quick, I think what Brian's already said is where what we can do about this. And it's really like step one, recognize that the battle's not flesh and blood, but it's with principalities, and that understand that there's these humans that we see running the show are merely puppets for the principalities.
Yeah.
Okay. Stop outsourcing your freaking thinking to a media outlet or something.
Stop being a dummy.
You know, and stop perpetuating the lies.
Yeah.
I mean, we really need to start speaking truth into our communities, to our families and stuff like that.
And a good way to start with that, and I'm going to give you this tool. This is actually something that there's a YouTuber that I listen to that actually is very smart. He says, I watch the news. He goes, and when I hear a report, regardless of however fantastical it might sound, he goes, I take that information and I track it to facts. He goes, if it doesn't track the facts, it's a lie. So instead of just watching the boob tube and being like, oh, that person did, why don't you do some research? Oh, that's terrible. I wonder if that's true. Because I guarantee you that 85% of what you hear, you will not be able to track back the fact.
Yeah. So look, critical thinking, this is key, right? That's what Brian's talking about. We really need critical thinking. And that starts with you and then you training your kids.
Yeah.
Okay. We at the church level, we need biblical teaching. We don't need cultural accommodation.
Yeah.
This is big here.
This is huge.
Christian tradition, biblical theology, not cultural accommodation. Period.
And let me add a caveat to that. I'm not saying that there should be no intellectualism inside of the church and in the teaching. I'm a fan of intellectual Christianity, but it needs to be limited to intellectually engaging in biblical truths.
You got to be mindful of the education system. I think this is really, really key for especially the people I know. You got to know your kids are being indoctrinated when you send them to public school.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're not doing something in addition to what they're doing at school to combat it, that's what they're going to end up being.
Engage with your children and challenge their preconceptions. That's all. That's something I've practiced.
If you send your kids to Rome, don't be surprised when they come back Romans.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right?
When in Rome, do as the Romans do.
So I would say, again, going back to our other episodes, like use your money wisely. It is powerful. Your dollar does mean something. Get engaged with your local politics, with the school boards and, city councils and county councils and all that stuff, which I have been reluctant to do, to be personally honest. It's just that says ick to me. And then support all alternate institutions. That means use independent media, right? Classical education techniques, that kind of thing. Okay. Anyway, so I know we went through a lot here. There's there's really a ton here, and it wasn't hard to put together. Yeah. And here's the thing. AI didn't disagree with anything I said. And I went across several different ones, but even the major ones were not held back in saying any of the stuff that we had in here, because they're not hiding it. This is legitimately quotes and everything else. Yeah. And even my conclusions when I was talking to the AIs about it, Claude especially, Claude's been very good actually. I must say I'm really enjoying how Claude has changed a little bit. Was readily able and logically to put this together with me, and did not have any issues with it. And actually even said, yeah, this is, I even asked it. I said, it seems odd that you are being so forthcoming and so logical about this, given that typically most of the major big tech companies, as you're talking about them, are very biased. And it said, yeah, I mean, but he goes, but it's generally, this is easy to connect. It just said, but yeah, but I can figure this out. Yeah. Anyway, just you got to understand the principalities are at work. This world is not the epicenter for an elite leftist society. That's what they want, but it shouldn't be that way. Individuality, community, real community, liberty, and really those things are what makes and constitutes our human existence as being worth something and helps you grow. I should say that. Not like you couldn't be worth anything, but helps you grow as a human. So all the efforts I see from the left are really to take away that stuff.
It's to dehumanize you.
And it's to really make you into just a piece of meat. And you're an animal. I mean, this is why the abortion stuff has been so successful, because it's like that what they have to make that not be a human in order for it to work. Yeah. And they've been successful with many people and millions of people, which is terrible. So anyway, that's all for today, Brian.
I think we did well.
I don't know how we did, but it was we really hammered it.
We did.
I talked a lot.
You did, and I talked a lot.
This is R&B Thomas.
I'm Brian.
I'm Reggie.
See you guys.
Bye-bye.